Alright, the kind of tool that is better than a standard debugger, which is usually text, is something that gives you data visualization. And I wrote a tiny little Python program. I'm not necessarily expecting you to understand Python for this, but let's look at the piece that's going to show up here in terms of visualization. So let's go over to the visualization. And you'll notice this looks kind of like a debugger, but up here it's showing you where we are with a little red arrow. And when I do step next, you'll see that, yes, it consumed that entire procedure and built that into a procedure in its global frame called this, whatever this list of numbers, I think I called it. And now its current location is over here, and its previous location was up there. And we can step to the next thing, which creates this list. And you know, this is a lot better way of looking at a data structure than just printing out a value inside there, because it's actually showing you that, yeah, you've got a bunch of tuples, they point at each other. Down here at the end, there is a null pointer. And you can step through to the next value, and you can see that not only have we created this list, but we have called this function, sum list of numbers. We're up here now. And a list points at this same list that existed before. And it's giving you a graphical representation of the pointers. And we can step through and we can say, is it a not list? No, it's a real list. We can pick apart the list, seeing what we get for f and rest. Oh, inside the procedure we now have f, which is 1, that came from right there, and rest, which is all of those things. And now we can do this call over here that takes f plus this sum. And guess what? We've called it again. And it's still, is it a list? And we're going to have another f and another stack frame. And this is really valuable for understanding, again, what's going on in a program if you're trying to debug it, or what's happening in terms of how programs work. It's pretty darn good for teaching recursion, too, as things go. As you can actually see that, you know, we are building this up, and you've noticed that f, as it's adding up, is getting larger and larger as it's adding the values. And let's look at this last one where it says that, yes, is it not a list? Still a list. One more time, one more stack frame. And finally, a list is none, which is not going to be a stack frame. And we're going to come in here and we are going to return 0, which is right there at the bottom of the screen. Okay? But now we have a return value from this, which is 2. And now we're going backwards through the stack, adding up the values as it's adding them up and getting to a final result that it's going to print out down here. And look, we have a total value. So a data visualization tool is really a fancy thing. The nice thing about this data visualization tool is you notice it has a previous button, which means I can go backwards through the program too, which forwards and backwards, you can poke through a lot of code and a lot of data structures and see what's going on inside the code. So there is the level of debuggers out there which are common, and then there's this new kind of debugger like a visualization tool that allows you to poke through and actually understand lots of code. But again, it has its limitations. I mean, the visualization tool is fantastic, provided that your code isn't too big or too complex, or your data structures aren't too large, because drawing out a data structure with 10,000 little nodes in it is not going to go well on your screen. So each one of these things has its place and its value, and I think this one is pretty darn cool, but again, it is limited.